You are welcome back. So we want to continue from where we stopped. So we're going to just move on now. So the last time I showed you how to use Python API to extract the data from EPL websites. So today we're going to try and save this data now inside a database. But first, we need to write DAG to help us trigger this script. Now, how do we do that? Well, before we do that, the first thing we need to do is we have to put all of this inside a function. So I'll just put all of this inside a function just in a minute. So to do that, just let's define a function. Let's call it EPL scraper. Let's call it EPL scraper. Okay, so we're going to copy everything and indent it. Just a minute. Let's copy everything, just indent. Okay, so I think one other thing I didn't mention in our last video is that we have to save our video inside a folder, and to do that I will be creating a folder inside our DAG so that we can save our CSV file inside it. So to do that, just quickly click on DAG, then create folder. Let's call it folder. Let's call it EPL Data. Let's call it EPL Data. So now we want to save this file inside this folder, and to do that, it means we are already in DAG, so we just do dot. Let's move into that folder, which is EPL Data. Let's see. Then slash the name of the file. Let's call it EPL Player DF, and we'll just put the extension. So just put the extension. You can decide to name it any name, but don't forget to put the extension CSV file. Okay. So we have this now, just save. Now let's now come back to how to write our DAG. So we'll come back to Google. We'll just do airflow DAG. We'll just type airflow DAG, airflow, airflow DAG tutorial, airflow DAG tutorial. So go to this particular one, which is the documentation. Click on the first link. So this gives like an explanation of how to write DAG, what DAG is all about. So I will encourage you to go through it to get a better understanding of it. So we're just going to make use of the template, but before we do that, this also tells us helps you to understand operators. So basically operators are what you need in order for you to run a task in Airflow. So there are different types of operator, but in this particular project we're just going to focus on using just the Python operator. So just take note, we're going to use Python operator. Now we're going to just come here and pick our templates. So this gives us a template. So just copy a template. We will adjust it to suit our own use case. Now what we need to do now is we're going to create a file inside our DAG. We'll call it let's call it let's look for a more descriptive name. Let's call it EPL DAGs. Let's EPL let's say EPL DAGs is fine. .py, it has to be a Python file. So we're going to paste what we just copied now. So we're going to do some cleanup and remove what we need. Sorry, remove what we don't need and leave what we need. So I think we just do a bit. We don't need this. So let's just get it clean. Okay, we can leave the description just to help you know what it is. Okay, I can take this out. I don't need this. We can call this just EPL. Let's call this EPL. EPL. Yeah. So we don't need all of this, but in case you want to learn more about it, you can take your time and read. So this should just be a description. Let's call it an EPL DAG. EPL DAG is fine. So we want our schedule to be daily, so we don't want, let's just put it at daily. Come back to that. Let's do at daily. think that's fine. I don't want tag. I can take out tag. It's fine. So we say we're going to be using Python operator, so we don't want the bash operator. We'll come back to that just in a minute. So okay, let's just properly clean all of this. So we will just do this. We'll just clean up. We just need it from Airflow import DAG. It's fine. So I'll just get all of this. I don't need all of this. Come back to that just in a minute. Okay, so you should have something like this after the whole cleanup. Now let's call it let's come back to our this. So we'll just type Python operator, since we want to be using Python operator. So now go to this website. It gives like a comprehensive guide on how to use Python operator. Now it also explains each of the parameters, but I won't be going into that. You can just take your time to read it. But if you have any question, or if there's anything you don't really understand, you can just drop a message in the comment section. So I will just go and just pick what I need here. So I need this. So just copy this. Let's see what we have. So put it here. So now we want to see how to run a task. So we're given that. So we just copy one, Control C, come back to this. So please make sure that everything is under the with block. If it's not under the with block, it's going to throw an error. So we're going to call this let's say extract, because we're extract EPL data. We'll name the same thing, extract EPL data. Sorry, not the callback. The tax ID should be the same thing. Now we don't need all of this for now. It's fine. So now we need to define our callback. Remember, we actually gave this a name, so we're just going to call this particular function inside our DAG. So we'll just do that just in a minute. So say from EPL players, we want to import that, import. So we're importing EPL scraper. Yeah. So now our Python callable now will now be this EPL scraper. So we'll just come and replace it with hello. So I think everything is fine. Just Control S. I think from here. So what we have to do now is we have to trigger this DAG from the Airflow UI interface. But to do that, let's just be sure we. Okay. So come back to this. First, let's clear this. Let's clear. Okay. So we're going to do Docker compose. So first of all, let's build. Let's see what we have. It should just take probably fine. So it's finished building. So the next thing we need to do is we need to run it. So let's do Docker compose up. So we're going to run it in detach mode so that we don't end up seeing a lot of logs. So we just do to the run in detach mode, it becomes docker.compose up then -d. So we just click on enter. So this should help us run, should trigger that particular this script. So I think it should take some minutes. So I will pause the video. Once it's complete, then we'll continue. So it's finished running, so we have this now. So I expected that yours should be something similar. Now let's see what we have. Let's come to our browser now. We're going to open localhost. Just type localhost 8080. Let's do that. Let's type it here. Localhost 8080. Now the password is Airflow. Sorry, the username is Airflow. The password is also Airflow. So okay. So now if you click on DAG, you should see the DAG we created as the EPL. So just click on it. Now, remember, I'll just show you something quickly. We created a folder here, so we are expected to have um, our data stored inside this EPL data. So we are just going to do that. So we're going to trigger this tag manually. So you click on trigger and click on trigger. So I think this should not take time, probably less than a minute. So we'll just see how it happens. Let's see what happens. So it shouldn't take time. So let's just wait a minute or so. Okay, still running. Okay, so you see we have success, so it means everything is completed. Now let's go and check and see if we indeed have data. Now let's come back here. So if we open this now, we should see our data now. These are our data. If I click on it, this should give us all of the EPL stats with the current players that are playing, with the new ones that are signed. So it gives us everything we need to know. So I think now we now have our data stored inside. We have our data stored inside this place. So the next thing now is let's just remind ourselves of how our architecture look like. So this is our architecture. So we already used Airflow to trigger this particular API. Now we want to see how we will store this inside a database. So that is our next task. So to do that, we're going to log on to Google BigQuery and see how to achieve that. So let's come back to Google BigQuery. Now we're going to open a new tab. Let's say how to store a CSV file in Google BigQuery. Okay. So this brings us to the official documentation on how to do that. So click on this first link. Now, if you look at the caption, it says loading CSV file, CSV data from cloud storage, but we are not loading from cloud storage. We want to load from the CSV file. So we're going to see how we can adapt that. But before we start, let's come back to this. So, okay, so it's you can just read through. It just tells us some limitation or some things you should be aware of if you want to perform that particular operation. Now, it says before we begin, we need to create grant identity access. So first, just this console, right click, then you open in a new tab. Now, I expect that you should have created an account in Google BigQuery, but if you have not, then I think the first thing you need to do is to first of all create an account with Google BigQuery so that you can follow through. Now, if you're finding it difficult on how to go about it, you can just drop a message in the comment section. I will try and see how to make a video on how to show you how to go about creating an account. But if you're here, if you create an account for the first time, you should have like a 30 days window to use to explore Google BigQuery. Now we'll just come here, we'll click on select a project. So create a new project. We'll call the project EPL pipeline. Let's call it EPL pipeline. EPL pipeline. Let's call it EPL pipeline. Yeah. So we'll call it EPL pipeline. That's the name of our project. Just create. That's fine. So we're going to create the project. Shouldn't take time. So once it's created, we should have something like this. So we just click on it, make sure it's clicked. Now come to these three parallel lines here, click on it, and go to I am and click on service accounts. Now we're going to create a service account. Then once we finish creating a service account, then we will now grant those access. Now go to create a service account. Now let's call this EPL service account. EPL, EPL service account. So this is it. So EPL service accounts. So I think if you want, you can just put description. Well, if you don't want, it's fine. So click on create and continue. Now let's come back to how to go about it. So we said we should grant permission. So what are the permissions we need to grant? So we have about 5 of them. So these are this data editor, data owner. So grant them just one after the other. So select row, go to BigQuery, click on it. So the first one is if I'm not mistaken, I think data editor is one of them. It's fine. The next one should be, click on BigQuery. I think data owner is also one of it. Just let me just confirm. So data editor, data owner, admin, and user. So click next, add row, another row. So we're going for admin, BigQuery, admin. I think user is one of them. Come back to that. Add another row. I think admin. Let's go for admin. Go back to BigQuery. Okay, I think admin. If I'm not mistaken, let's just confirm. Yeah, admin and job user. I've added user, so it's just remaining job user. I'll double check this. I think there is another admin. Let's just be sure. Okay, I think that's the only one. So just add the last one. So the last one is job user. BigQuery job user. Job user. Yep. So we finish. So we just do continue. So the next thing is we'll leave it like that. We'll just click on done. So we now have our service account. So we're going to click on our service account because we want to get a key that will help us to authenticate our it will help us to authenticate our airflow with that of our database so that we can just load this data directly inside our database. And to do that, we're going to click on keys, then click on add new key, then click on create new key. This should download a JSON file that will help us to authenticate. So click on that. So we'll just click on create. So we now have a JSON file. So if you go to your download like this, if you go to your download, you should see a JSON file there. So come back to that just in a minute. So this is what we have now. So the next thing we want to do now is, so this is what we have now. So we want to continue. Now let's go back. So we've done this. Now the next thing we need to do now says we need to create a data set. And let's go back and create a data set. So if you're still here, just click on this 3 line, go to BigQuery, just scroll down to BigQuery. You see BigQuery, click on it. Now we want to create a data set. And to create a data set, we're going to click on these 3 dots here and click on create data set. Now let's call this data set, let's give it a name. We're going to call it EPL players DF. Yes, fine, you can call it this name. We're going to select a region, not multi-region. So click on region that is closest to you. Select the region that is closest to you. So I'll select one that is closest to me. Then the next is just create a data set. Now, I have my data set here inside like this. Now let's come back. So we've done this now. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to copy this file because that is what will help us. This is the step on how to go about that. So we just copy it and come back to this place. So we're going to create a new Python file. We'll call it load EPL data. Let's call it load EPL data. Call it, so it has to be a Python file py. So just paste what we copied here. We'll do a little cleanup. Oh, it's fine. We can just leave it. We'll come back to that just in a minute. Now, remember, this is used to load a file from, like the caption said, from cloud storage, but we are not loading from cloud storage. So let's find a way on how to make a little adjustment to this so that it will help us to solve our own problem. So let's come back to this. We're going to just, I think we don't need all of these. Hold on. I'll just get this out. I don't need them. It's fine. I don't need them. It's fine. Okay. I think I need this. I will uncomment this. Just uncomment this. It's fine. Come back. So now let's start with this. Let's go step by step. So it says your project dot your dataset dot your table name. So now let's come back to this. So if you click on this like this on what you created, click on the dataset you created. So this is your project name dot your dataset name. So just click on, just copy this, just come back to here and just replace this first two with this up to this point. Now we now have the name of our project dot the name of our data set. Now we need to give it a name, a table name. We'll come back to that, but we'll give it a name. Let's call it EPL players. Let's call it stats. Let's call it stats. Yeah, so let's call it like that. So that is the name of our table. So this name, this EPL player stats, should appear under here, but we're not seeing anything here, right? So that name should appear under this with all our data inside that particular table. Now let's come back to this now. So we're done with that. So the next thing is, let's see how we are going to configure our job. Now let's come back to here. So click on this. Now I will advise you to click on this load jobs. It should take you, so it is a class. Now under the class there are different properties of that class. So click on any of these links, should take us to more explanation on how to use it. Now this just gives us an explanation on how to use the properties of that particular class. So the first thing we need to take from here is auto detect. So I'll just click on copy this. I'll come back to that just in a minute. We come back here and paste it here. That's the first thing we need. Auto detect. So it should be yes. Let's say yes. Sorry, auto detect true, not yes, true. So it should be equal to, it should be this way. Okay, so we have the first one, auto detect true. So let me just quickly explain what it means. Now if you scroll down, it gives us explanation of auto detect. Let's see what we have as the explanation of auto detect. Hold on, let me see. Okay, so it says indicate if we should automatically infer the option and schema for CSV and JSON source. So what it basically means is we want the table that will be created inside our database to automatically dictate what is the schema and option of our already existing CSV file. So we don't want to start creating a new table or a new schema for it. So we want it to auto dictate it. So that's just what it means. Now the next property we want to take from here is we want to take right disposition. So basically what it means is it says specify the action that occurs if the destination table already exists. So if it exists, these are what should happen. So right truncate, if the table already exists, BigQuery overwrite the data, removes the constraint and uses the schema from the load job. So we're going to be using the right truncate. So you can just read through and it helps you to understand which will best suit your own use case. But in this particular project, we're going to be using right truncate. So just come here, pick right truncate. Let's see what we have as right truncate. Where's right truncate? I'm not seeing it. Sorry, just a minute. It's fine. I'll just pick it from it. It's no problem. So right disposition. Sorry. Come back to here. Oh, put it here. So it should be right disposition. I think it should be like this. Sorry, it should be D equal to should be equals to this. So it should be a string. Just double check. It should be a string. So I think that's all we need. But right disposition, I think that should be underscore. Just a quick one. Just quickly check right disposition. Just want to see how it is right disposition. Hold on. I want to be sure I'm doing it the right way. Okay, yeah, it should be underscore right disposition. So let's come back. Let's just correct that just quickly. Right disposition. Okay, so we now have everything we need for the load job config. So we don't need this. So get this out. Now for our table, okay, the next thing now is we'll come back to the next step. I think we're done with this. So we'll come back to the next step, which is let's go back 2 steps backward. So we're done with the load job config. So the next thing is we want to check this particular we'll click on this particular one, which is load table from URI. So we're not loading table from URI, but we're loading table. We want to use pandas. So click on it. So this is a method of a class. Hold on, I'll just go back and show you what I mean. So if you check, this is the class. The name of the class is client. So this is a method of that class clients. That's just what we. So if you click on it, so let's look for the method that will help us solve our own problem. So let's see. I think we want to load from Panda. So this is load from URI. This is load from JSON. This is load from data frame. So this is our own use case. So we want to load from the data frame. Control C. Come back to this and replace this load from URI with load from table from data frame. Now what it simply means is we have to read our file. So let's read our file. How do we read a file? We'll come back and do that just in a minute. So let's read our file first. Let's put it here. Let's call it EPL df is equals to PD dot. I think this is how to read the data frame. Sorry, PD dot read how to read CSV file. I think it should be PD dot read CSV file. Read CSV file using pandas. So this gives us how to read it. So we'll just copy. So this is what we want. Control C. So we'll just come back here. We'll just put it here. Control V. Now, so we need to import pandas. Let's import pandas. Import pandas as PD. Now we need to put the file path. So let's put file path. I think we have that file path somewhere in our this. I think it should be our file path. So just copy this. It should be our file path. Just put it here. So this should be our file path. So it's just directing it to that. So we'll just replace this as file path. So what we're saying is just we'll just replace it with file path. It's fine. So we now have this. So now this will now be what we're going to replace with this URI. Okay. So I think now the other thing is we need to create a folder now. This time around, the folder will help us house our key. So let's create that folder. So create folder. Let's call it key. Now inside this key, we're going to move in our JSON file that we downloaded. Well, let's rename it first. Just quickly rename. Rename. So let's just, okay, don't worry. Let's not rename now. Let's just move it. We're going to move it inside our key now. So we now have it there. So we have our key. We can rename it here. Let's give it a more meaningful name. Let's call it EPL dash. Let's call it key. So we now have our key here. Now, what we are going to do now is we're going to mount this key in our Docker compose YAML file. So basically, what we're trying to do is, if we don't mount it, then it won't be able to see the key, because everything we're doing now, we're running everything inside our Docker container. So we want this key also to be inside our Docker container, because at the moment now, this key is not inside our Docker container. So to do that, we're going to just come here and just mount it. So I'll just copy this, Control C, Control V. So we'll just rename. Let's call this so dots. So I'm saying the current directory, look for this particular folder, which is key. Inside key, look for a file called, what's the name of that file? Let's see the name of the file. Look for a file called EPL pipeline key. Okay, that's fine. So the same thing, I'll just copy everything here and just replace it with these plugins. So I think everything should be fine. We just Control S, save, we close. Now we're going to find a way to authenticate it so that it should be able to help us reach this particular key here. And to do that, we're going to be using authentication, Python authentication to do that. So we're going to use this. So we're going to write import, just a minute. So to do that, we're going to do import first, import OS. Now, hold on, I'll just close this, I don't need it anymore. So import OS. Now we're going to do, so we're going to do os dot environment. So environment. This. So we're going to do Google. I'm going to write Google. Google application. So we're going to put everything inside. So Google, or we can just type it online so that it becomes easy. We'll just copy. Don't mind me, I'm being lazy. So type Google Authenticity, Google application credentials. So this is what we need. So we'll just scroll down. I think this is what we need. So we'll just copy this. Control C. I think this is just what we need. So come back here. Just replace it here. Control V. So I think we have this already up. So now this one is telling us to define our path, the path to our JSON file. I think we already have that path here. So this is the path to our JSON file. Just copy this. No, I think that's not the path to our JSON file. So our JSON file should be, yeah, that's the path to our JSON. Sorry, yeah, that's the path. So we'll come back to this. So we'll replace this now with that path. So now this is, let's call it, let's name it authenticate Google BigQuery. Let's call it authenticate Google BigQuery. Authenticate Google BigQuery. Okay, we now have this. We have this now. So we've authenticated. I think everything is fine here. Now, what we just need to do, we're going to put everything here inside a function. Let's define a function dev. Let's call it um, ingest. Let's say ingest EPL data. Let's do this. So let's say ingest. So it should ingest EPL data for us. Let's put this in. I think we don't need this. We need this. Hold on. Think destination table. No, don't need this. So from here, I think we're fine. We have everything now inside the function. So we'll come back to our DAG. We're going to write a DAG because we need to find a way to trigger this. So we'll come back to DAG. There's our DAG, these are DAG. So the same thing, we're going to import from load EPL data import. So we're importing ingest EPL data. Now we're going to create another task now. Just copy this, fine. Control V. So this time around it will now be ingest. Or let's say load. Let's use load EPL data. So we're going to give it the same name as well, load EPL data. Now our Python callable will now be this. Now the next thing we need to do is, if we come back to this, since we now have two DAG, hold on just a minute. Since we now have two DAG, so we want a situation where the first one run, which is to extract the data, then the next one will run, which is to load the data or to ingest the data into our database. To do that, just come back here. So this gives us how to do that. So this is how to do that. Just copy this. I'll come back to this. Just paste here. So replace each of them. So the first is extract. So wants to run extract, which is this. So the next thing is to load, which is this. Oh, hold on. I think I would prefer to give it a different name. Let's call it let's just call it let's say load ingest. I'll use a different name. Ingestion. Let's call it ingestion. It's fine. So that we don't have repetition. So it doesn't cause problem for us when we start running. Let's call it ingestion. It's fine. So the next thing is ingestion. So copy this ingestion. So what it means is run this first one. Once you're done running, then run the next one. So I think we now have our two DAGs defined. We have everything defined here. We'll save. Our load is also okay. Everything is fine here. So everything is fine here. Just checking, just cross-checking. So I'll just save. Now the other thing we need to do now is we need to download Google BigQuery. So if you come back here, just open. We're going to do Google pip install. Let's do pip install. Yeah. So you see, we need to install this. So which is this. So we just copy this. So we need to pip install Google BigQuery. So we just pip install. Come back to this now. Under this, we just paste it there. So what it means is, remember in our Docker file, we said we want to run pip install. So it will help us run pip install and install this particular Google BigQuery that we need to run. So I think everything is fine from this side. So let's come back to this. So this is what we have as our airflow. So we only have extract EPL data, but let's see if we'll have the next one. So to do that, we'll come back to this. So we're going to shut down. We'll do Docker compose down. Let's do Docker compose down. Let's shut down the containers first. So we'll remove them, shouldn't take time. Then we'll rebuild again. Since we've added something to our what's it called? Our YAML file. So we'll do Docker compose. Docker compose. This time around we'll build first. So let's build. So the next thing is Docker compose up-d. So we're going to rerun it. So this will take a minute or two. So I'll pause the video once it's completed, then we'll continue. So I think everything is completed here. So we are just going to run, come back to this. So we're going to refresh this page. Now this time around, we now have both extract data and ingestion. So we're going to retrigger it and see what happens now. Let's trigger that. So we have the first one running. So if you just click on this icon here, it will show you how it runs. So if you see, let me just, so you say this one is running first. Once this one is done running, so before the second one runs, so that is how the pipeline runs. So we'll just wait for it to run. So we'll come back here, click on this. So this shouldn't take time. I think probably less than a minute. Let's see what's happening here. So this one is completed. Okay, I think we have a bit of error. Let's see what the error is. It says this particular file credential cannot be found. Okay, let's just be sure what we've done. EPL data.json cannot be found. Now let's just do a bit of troubleshoot. Key.json. Hold on. We will put. I see. So we need to .json. So I think we need to add EPL key.json. Sorry, I think we omitted .json. Just also be .json here. I think that's fine. So this is, let's just double check EPL pipeline, EPL pipeline dash key.json. Yep. So I think we'll just save this and rerun. So let's see what we have. So hold on. So we're going to reduce this time to 30 seconds because it's taking time. Just under our DAG, we'll go to DAG. So here should have been, so what it means is 5 minutes is too much. So we just reduce it to 0.5. So 0.5 minutes, that's 30 seconds. So what it means, if it fails, I want you to retry one more time, but just take this time, 0.5 seconds instead of 5 minutes is too much. So we're going to shut down the container and reload again. Hold on. So let's come back to here. We're going to do Docker compose down. So the same thing now, we'll do Docker compose up, build first. Let's build, since we did a little modification to our YAML file. So we're going to do the same thing, Docker compose. So I will just quickly pause the video. Once this is completed, we'll now see what the result will be like. So we now have this, everything is now completed. So let's go back and rerun this. Let's rerun this. Everything should be fine now. Let's trigger. Let's just wait for a minute. So we're not having problem with the first one because it does run, which is good for us. So okay, let's just wait. I think it will take like less than a minute or so. So once everything is done running, we will just check our database. So it's done. Let's see this. Lovely. I think everything ran successful. Now let's see if we're going to see that this particular data here. Let me just quickly show you. We have what's it called? Where's our DAG? So we have this data here. Let's see if we're going to see this exact data inside our database. Now let's come. So let's refresh this. Let's refresh content. So if you can see, we now have the data. If I click on it, okay, let me just run a query just quickly. These 3 dots query. Let's just run a query, select. Okay, I think everything is cramped now. So let's do select all from this. So let's just limit it to the first 100. It's fine. So we're going to run this query and let's see what we have. Now I'll just open this well so that you see what we have here. Now this is what we have now. We have the player name, this, we have the nationality, we have the position, we have the current team they play for, and other things we need to see about that. So the time played, everything we have here, everything we have here, everything we have here, we now have it here. So if we sort by appearance, let's just sort by appearance. We're going to sort by appearance. Just want to show you quickly. Start from descending. So I think if we start from descending, let's start from ascending. Sorry, let's start from ascending. 8. Okay, let's no problem. It's fine. So we have this. I think yeah. So I think we've achieved the goal. The goal is for us to move our data inside our database. So this is now the third series of our project. So I'll just do a bit run up to see where we are. So we've extracted the data, we've loaded the data inside the database. So our next task will be how we're going to, we've triggered the data using Airflow. So our next task now will see how we're going to use DBT to perform transformation on the data inside our database. So the data now is in its raw format. So we're going to transform it now from a raw format to its transformed data. So thank you very much.